3, 2, 1.
Hello, you're tuned into WBPULP St. Petersburg 96.3 on your FM dial. Welcome to the Simone Durant Show, where we cover all things hair, health, beauty, and community.
Wow!
Yep, you heard it. This isn't just a show, it's a movement. So turn up the volume and join the conversation. It's time to educate, enlighten, and empower together. Let's dive in. Good morning, St. Pete, and to all of our listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the Simone Durant Show, where we talk all things hair, health, beauty, and community. I'm your host, certified hair loss specialist, restoration expert, and community advocate, Simone Durant, and I'm so excited to be with you guys for another Monday. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. I know we got some rain over the weekend. I know we got some funky weather, but up and up for the most part. If you guys can't hear my voice, I am getting over a little bit of sickness, but you know that elderberry, it does its business. That elderberry, that zinc, that citrus, yes, it does the job. So I sound worse than I actually feel, but God is good, so we're going to keep on moving forward. As always, started off with the attitude of gratitude, giving thanks to God, who is the author and the finisher of my life. Thank you to the African People's Education and Defense Fund. Thank you to Black Power Radio. Thank you to the Uhuru Movement. Thank you to my wonderful fiance, Vaughn, who is my backbone. I love you. Thank you to my parents, my children, my educators, my clients, my industry mentor, Tony Love. Thank you to Uncle DJ Eddie, Florida's best blind DJ. Shout out to Miss Lisa, who's always listening. She's writing down on that postal card. Always, every time I pass her on the way here, she's like, I'm going to be listening. So shout out to Miss Lisa. Shout out to Blue Nile. Shout out to Miss Thelma at Looking Good Fashion. Shout out to everyone in the community who constantly support and listen to Black Power Radio. We have finished our February fund drive, and it was amazing. I talked about the turn up last week, where we got to introduce you guys to some of the programmers, the DJs, the volunteers, and we had a really, really great time. Thank you to everyone who donated to the fund drive, and it is not too late. You can still always be a sustaining member by going to www.blackpower96.org/donate and make any type of donation towards the cause. This is the People's Radio Station, and this is the voice in the heart of St. Petersburg. And so we have to keep this initiative going. We have to be a space for free speech and enlightenment, so that anything happens, the people and the citizens of our neighborhood know what's going on. As I explained before, the goal is to get a new transmitter, and that is what transmits the signals throughout the area. And one thing that's important about radio is when everything goes down, the satellites will pick up radio. So you know how sometimes on those doomsday movies you have those the radios, but everything else is out, and they're like trying to pick up feed to see what's going on. That's the importance of radio. It's not played out. It's not old. It's something that's very, very needed and essential, so that people have a way to communicate at all times. So we really, really appreciate that. Remembering that Black Power 96, we don't just explain the world, but we change it one person at a time, one interview at a time, one news report at a time, and we are just extremely thankful for everyone who contributes towards that initiative. Today we have two special guests. I usually have one, but we have two special guests, a dynamic duo, as I call it, Mr. Jair and Maya Pink Huff. Maya and Jair are married. They are a creative team who uses art, music, and wellness to inspire reflection, healing, and personal growth. Together they create engaging experiences that encourage people to explore their emotions, identity, and creativity in meaningful ways. Maya is a visual artist, educator, and founder of Happy Soul by Pink and the Happy Soul Revival Incorporated. Her work centers around emotional expression, storytelling, and the power of creativity as a tool for wellness and self-discovery. Jair is a musician, a music educator, and a creative mentor who helps people to find their voice through music with a calm and encouraging approach. He creates environments where learners can feel confident exploring sound, rhythm, and creativity. Together, they blend their art, music, and mindfulness to create a safe, uplifting space where individuals can reflect, grow, and reconnect with themselves through creativity. So welcome to the building, you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I met them at the Collard Green Festival. And they were actually connected to my brother-in-law who was doing some photography out there, our new visual media producer for the Simone Durant show, Alan Jr., Boston Jr., Be the Beast 1K. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just had to shout him out every time because he's behind the camera, and we have to, show out for our peoples. But we met, and it was almost a feeling of nostalgia because they're very young in spirit, but in age, but old in spirit. Old in spirit. So it felt like it was just, some people kicking back, having a conversation that we had before. They're very gentle. They're very secure. They're very refined to be so young, and it's impressive because I get that a lot, but it's rare that I meet a couple that young, you guys that really make me see that marriage can start at an early age and really be have a great foundation. So I love to see it. They're going to start off by telling us a little bit about their experience. So I always ask everyone, were you born and raised in St. Pete? You guys are Bird natives, right? Right. And what's your alma mater?
Boga Ciega.
All right. Yeah, so she went to Boga Ciega High School. And where'd you go?
I actually went to Superior, so I went to school up in Clearwater.
Okay. Well, I'm a pirate for life. So that's my alma mater, Center for Wellness and Medical Professions. So I don't know. I'm not biased, but I'm biased. And so what was it like? I always like to ask people because everyone has a different idea of what it's like to grow up in St. Pete. So I want you guys to lean in and tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in St. Pete for you.
I would say, personally, I always kind of felt out of place. I know that St. Pete has always kind of been like an arts hub, but it wasn't as much as it is now. I definitely feel like I started finding myself more so in college. I went to SBC, so I've been here basically the whole time. And I feel like even though the arts wasn't as big when I was growing up, there was still that access to it. So, going to the Dolly Museum or going to some of those studios that are like downtown, they inspired me a lot. I mean, and Dolly's work inspired me a lot too. Like, I do a little bit of surrealism. So I would say that, and just as I got older too, I had more of an appreciation for the actual land and how much nature is preserved here, where you go to other cities and it's really not like that. Like, yeah, we have the city, but then we also have so many preservations here in St. Pete. So
Yeah, that's good. I definitely would relate to it, kind of feeling out of place, but I feel like for me it's a little different because I was a military child, so we moved around a lot. My mom was in the Army, she served a couple years, and I spent a good amount of time of my childhood living in Colorado, so that's a whole different landscape to being in Florida. But I feel like in regards to my artistry, like that's all rooted coming from here, St. Pete. Both my uncles rap. It wasn't something that I found out till later, but that was a passion of mine. But I found that here when it came to anything music, when it came to arts, it all was rooted here in St. Pete in some way, shape, or form.
I've never heard those perspectives before. Most people, they come on and they talk about like their initial upbringings, and they talk about what it was like to engage with friends or family, but to bring the creative aspect And I guess it just depends on who you are and what you do, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we're bringing that perspective to the conversation because, one, surrealism is my favorite art form. And I was very inspired at an early age, partially because there is no finite way to perceive surrealism, right? It's just like everything kind of falls into something else and falls into something else. And that's kind of how I saw my life growing up too. Like it was more so seamless and constantly flowing and moving around. And I had so many different perspectives that I wanted to like put into everything, right? And so with surrealism, I think it's like you see it, but it takes a while to be understood. You have to like sit with it. And I feel like people who like surrealism and connect with surrealism are the same type of person where you kind of feel like, sometimes people don't really understand me for who I am. You kind of have to get to know me a little bit more. So the fact that you brought that out in nature as well is kind of like the heartbeat of the earth, right? It really helps to center yourself. It helps to create gravity within your person and your being. And a lot of people don't value the nature around us. We don't even get to get out there as much, in the hustle and bustle of life. And probably towards the end of last year, a question was asked to everyone in one of my peer groups. If you were just you, right? If you were just you apart from every single thing that you had to be, whether it was a husband, wife, sister, brother, like if you just had to be you, what would that look like? If you did the things that you enjoy. And I know that a lot of people don't have the luxury of being able to quickly answer that question, but I feel like it's something that we all need to think about, right? And when the question was asked, I was like, I don't really know. But I guess when you stay in an artistic mindset, when you stay in a form of self-expression, it's really easy for you to find that space consistently. And I almost envy you guys a little bit for being able to just like go to that space and know exactly what brings out the best parts of you. So congratulations for that, and congratulations for being able to have someone who constantly, gets that to be in sync. And so we talked a little bit in our meet and greet about how you guys met, right? And initially I thought that you guys formed this together, but it was actually you met her while connecting with her initiative, right? So tell us a little bit about that meet and greet, and how you guys became a dynamic duo, husband and wife.
I'll go first. So we actually met when I was doing a photo shoot for my brand, so Happy Soul by Pink. And we were doing the photo shoot at my aunt's church. And there were two guys that were supposed to be in the photo shoot because I was trying to make sure that people knew that the brand was unisex. I feel like the very first photo shoot, there were a lot of women. And so I had two guys, and one of the guys didn't show up. It was like the exact same ratio of like women to men that was in my very first photo shoot. And the friend that was doing the photography was actually a mutual friend of ours. Yeah. And so she was like, do you want me to call my friend? I think he might be perfect for this. And the way she was acting, she was like, I'm gonna call him. I was like, okay.
Shout out to Zakaria.
Yeah, shout out to Zakaria. And she still is our photographer for like these events and things like that. But so she calls him, he didn't answer, and then he called back like 5 minutes later, and he was at work. And so basically he was just getting off, and when he looked at the address, he lived 5 minutes away. So he showed up, and the rest is history. I think like after that, probably like a week later, like I found out he made music, and I always made music, but it wasn't like a thing. And so he was like, oh, like I have recording stuff at my house, like, you should come over, I'll help you record. If you help me with your vocals, like put some of your vocals on my song. And so, I guess the rest is history. Then like a few months later was the first soul revival, and he performed, but he did more to perform, like leading up. We performed together. Yeah. So the song that he asked me to put my vocals on, we performed that song at the festival. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much. She summed it up the best way. Like, yeah, we got our start. And our connection was through like creativity, you know, because it was our brand photo shoot. And then, like she said, our first bonding moment was through music. And then our first date was in nature at the beach. So like we kind of always, 'cause I wasn't always like that, but I feel like around that period of time when we met, she kind of helped me get more into that, and it just grew from there. And, you know, it just grew from there. That's how I put it.
They're so cute, y'all. You gotta be in the room. They're just so cute. And like I said, they're a relatively young couple, but I feel like they work so well together, and they're growing together, and they speak as one. And it's just a beautiful thing to see such a young couple. Like, guys, if you are young and you think that love is real, you want to grow, it is possible. It's possible by having the same values, the same foundation, the same core beliefs, and yielding to one another. So you said that you started off with the photo shoot for Happy Soul. So tell us a little bit about Happy Soul first, and then tell us a little bit about how that changed into the Happy Soul revival.
Okay. So yeah, Happy Soul started in 2019, 2020-ish. It was inspired by my aunt Lemitra Moody, who had sickle cell. If you don't know, sickle cell is basically a disease where it's a genetic disease where their cells, they change shape and they're basically like little sickles. And it's really hard for your cells to move through your veins when that's happening, and it's hard for you to get oxygen. It's extremely painful. And so you would never know that she was in pain and that, you know, she was going through these things because she always had a positive outlook on life. She was always spreading joy, always spreading love, and always helping people. She was also a teacher as well. And so when she passed away, I told myself that I would spread her legacy. And unfortunately, like the first few years, she passed away in 2016. The first few years of that, I was extremely depressed, extremely anxious, and I wasn't living her legacy. I wasn't spreading joy. I was very pessimistic. In 2018, I decided that's not going to be my story anymore. And so that's where Happy Soul was birthed. And so it started out as just a brand, and anytime somebody would buy a shirt, I would donate $1 to Sickle Cell. A few years later, I realized I wanted to raise more money for it, and that's where Soul Revival came from, which was our event. And the very first event was in 2023. And then after our second year, but after our third year is when it actually happened, we turned the festival into a nonprofit. So we're in year one of being an official 501c3. It's the same purpose, bridging the gap between art and wellness. The same inspiration to honor my aunt Lemitra Moody. It's just a bigger initiative now, getting more community together and really teaching the community that art can be used as a form of healing, and that healing can be an art. So
beautiful. And thank you for that, because I love when people bring awareness to underserved diseases and disorders. I remember growing up in elementary school, and there was a young lady who I went to school with. She was in our class, and she had sickle cell. And because of that condition where it's hard to get oxygen and flow, she would have seizures. And we were young, but we had to create a community around her that made her feel safe, made her feel okay. I remember when she would have her seizures and things like that, we learned to like quickly step away. You know, if someone was there, so like run and get an adult. Being turned on her side so she won't like choke, or different things like that. And so and they would pass, and then she would spend a couple days out and come back, and just learning to welcome her back and make her feel very like at home, and not like there was something wrong with her, or that she was like a leper of some sort. I can only imagine that lifelong, and so thank you for that, because I always think about her, and I never actually knew that there was a sickle cell awareness campaign here in St. Petersburg. And so I really do appreciate that initiative. And so you guys have a Happy Soul Revival coming up April 17th, right? 18th and 19th.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you guys are looking for more information, you can go to happysoulrevival.org. That's HAPPYSOULREVIVAL.org. happysoulrevival.org. Sunday, you guys will be, that's a Friday. Friday, you guys will be at the SPC Midtown, correct?
Right.
And what's going on right there?
So at SPC Midtown, that is where we'll learn more about sickle cell. So if you want to hear from sickle cell professionals, the people who have sickle cell, or just the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America St. Petersburg chapter, who are our beneficiaries, they'll be there sharing their experiences, sharing more knowledge about sickle cell, and also even we'll have some people there also talking about just general wellness and taking care of your body. So.
Okay, and then the 18th will be at the James Museum, correct? From 11 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on at the James Museum?
The James Museum is where you come and you get in your best dressed cultural attire.
Right.
And we will be having live performances. We have food by Yes Chef Village. We will be having a few vendors, live paintings, and those paintings will be auctioned off. And we'll have an artist panel. So we'll hear from art therapists. We'll hear from other artists who use their art as healing. And it's just great community. And we'll have community conversations as well.
Awesome. And then April 19th is the actual kind of festival on the Deuces, right? So they'll be on 22nd Street in the historic Deuces. And what's happening then?
This is where you get to get hands-on. You get to actually experience art as healing. So we'll have different art stations. We'll even have art therapy and music therapy inside of the Deuces hubs. We'll have good food trucks, many vendors, art vendors, wellness vendors, and we'll have good music. We'll have some performances by the Arts Conservatory for Teens, and we'll have a few more performances from local Tampa Bay artists.
Okay, and that's from 2 to 6, correct?
Yes.
So they have some good stuff going on, y'all. Again, April 17th through the 19th. They are a not-for-profit organization, so you should be able to make donations on that website as well if it's an initiative that you want to support. But as we talked a little bit about yesterday, the dynamics of creating initiatives and developing initiatives within relationships, right? And you guys actually talked about how it built your relationship and made it stronger.
Right.
So the first question I asked was, how did that experience help you just as a woman birthing something within yourself and trying to navigate it versus having that masculine energy in-house to bounce ideas off of? So what was that like for you?
Yeah, so when I first started, of course, it was always just like my baby. And so getting married, I had to learn how to kind of like loosen the reins a bit and be able to receive that masculine energy, to be able to receive that help. And it's been a blessing. I have that, creative, I don't want to say unstructured, but just, when you're creative, there's, ideas flowing in all the time, and you just want to see the vision come forth, but he brings that perspective of like, okay, well, if you want to see this come forth, these are the systems that we need in place. These are the people that we need to talk to. These are the things that we need to do. And he helps me to stay focused, and he takes on the tasks that would allow me to focus more on the vision and the mission. So.
And how has it helped you as a man and as a husband being connected to such a visionary and helping her with those initiatives and areas that she lacks?
So I feel like it's helped me because I feel like God has graced me to be able to see what needs to be fixed. So stepping in and doing that, it forces me to be structured. And I have to not only hold myself accountable, but I learn to hold her accountable, but with grace as well. So I'm not just with my tone and certain things. I know men can sometimes be like, get it done. But, speaking to a woman, I feel like you have to do it in a certain way because I feel like, I'm athlete. when we on the field and it's like this undone, it's like it's different, you know, than if I'm telling her like, hey, we need to, you know, work towards this to achieve this. So I feel like it's helped me become more disciplined. I just enjoy seeing her, you know, win, which is good. So I always feel glad. I get joy out of seeing her achieve her vision, and it just drives me to become better. You know, I feel like the better I am as a man, as a person, whether it be mentally, physically, in every aspect, you know, the better I can help her be. So I think it just overall helps me become a better man and become more disciplined. Yeah.
And you also talked about the difference between growing up in transition, being a military kid, not really having a sense of connection to your environment, and how this kind of reeled you back into being able to have relationships with people, right?
That's a good point. So, like I was saying, I was military. So, I'm used to being on the go. I'm used to people coming in and out of my life, whereas she's very community driven. She was all about the community. She was all about being of service. Okay. And
Go ahead.
so she was all about being of service, and I feel like that changed my viewpoint, because I was never one who was like, I feel like growing up I was very selfish, if I'm being honest. As a man, it's kind of like, you know, you gotta take what you can to give, but you're very like, this is what I have, this is what I can give. And I think it's allowed me to kind of self-reflect on myself and look at, well, what can I give to make the world a better place? And in regards to stability, like you were saying, it's allowed me to be able to, well, my upbringing is what helped me be able to be on the go and adjust to, you know, different circumstances in life. But I feel like you helped me stay grounded and, you know, the different twists and turns that we go through. So.
Men great till they gotta be great. Don't text me, tell it straight to
teens. That was the only thing that was getting me through. That was like my form of journaling. And even getting older and being able to look back at it is like a form of documentation and seeing how far you've come. And so I wanted to share that experience with the world. I wanted to share that experience. And then I also realized that not only was it helping me, but when people saw my art, they could relate to it, and then they realized that they weren't alone in whatever they were experiencing. And so, again, I wanted to bring that reality to other people, because I don't think people always see art as a form of healing, and they also feel like in order to pick up a paintbrush you have to be an artist, and they feel like you know, a lot of people feel like art is just arts and crafts and it doesn't matter, and you know, once you're a certain age you don't do art anymore. But I want people to know that like art is meant to keep your inner child alive. Like, we're not supposed to just ignore that part of ourselves. That's essentially like the core of who we are. Like when we were kids, that's when we did and were interested in things that tell us, they inform us of our purpose. And I feel like if we're creating constantly, that's keeping us aware of who we are, especially, you know, knowing that we're made in God's image. If God is the creator, that means we're all creators. And so I feel like doing things to keep that part of yourself alive is important. And also knowing that it doesn't have to be painting. Painting is my thing, but I also sing, I also write poetry. And there's other people who do other things like dance and cooking and gardening, things like that. Those are all different forms of art that people don't necessarily realize. So like, yeah, like my goal is just to remind people that they can use art as healing, and it doesn't have to be this big scary thing, and you don't have to tell me every time I tell you I'm an artist that you only know how to draw a stick figure, because you can express in so many different ways. So.
And what about you? You said that you help navigate people through that experience as well, being gentle, being patient, but how important is it for you to do what you do and also help other people through music?
I think it's important, like it's in the aspect, like I feel like it's my calling in a way to use music to minister. I just had somebody today who shared with me how my music helped them, and just you never realize the impact you're making until after the fact, and sometimes you may never know. But I'm a firm believer if God has placed it on your heart to do something, it's for a reason. Somebody's gonna hear it, and it's gonna help somebody in some way. And I think that's the gift of music. That's the gift of art and creativity. You think about even here at the house, like there's art here that tells a story about our past and our ancestors. It's something we can claim and look to in regards to identity to help us move forward. In the same way, that's how music is. That's how art can be used if we use it in the right way. So, to me, I think me sharing my story, even you go back to scripture, it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. You know, when we share our testimony, when we share our stories, that gives the next person faith, or that gives the next person hope, that gives the next person courage, you know, to keep moving forward. Because we overcame it, so we share it to help the people behind us. So.
And representation does matter, right?
Yeah, that's everything. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, as you guys were talking, it just made me think about the why, right? Most artists don't get started doing this type of thing to empower, right? It's a form of self-expression. It's a form of just being true to yourself, and you never know what's going to come out sometimes. You know, each feeling creates a different form of artistry, different words, different forms of expression. Your brush moves a different way. The color shows up a different way. It indents onto the paper a different way. And so I think that's what we see when we see art, when we see visualization put to paper. I'm an artist as well. I feel like everyone in their own way is, whether they identify with it or not. But there have been things that I just like, you know what, I'm going to draw today. And I'm like, and then I'm done, and everybody's like, "Oh, that was fire." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know where that came from."
And you feel good about yourself.
But you feel good about it, and it's out, right? And so when I think about art, when I think about self-expression, the first thing that comes to my mind is release, because you can't stay bottled up. Like, you can't keep everything on the inside. You have to find a way to blow some of that steam off. To have I tell people, even if you write it down and rip it up, right? You have to find something, you have to find an outlet. And so, what are some of your favorite moments when you think about art as healing? Like some of your favorite personal moments?
That's a good question. I definitely see art as a spiritual practice for me. So a lot of times when I am making my art, I am literally having a conversation with God. So, I mean, I don't even know how I could pinpoint. Oh, here's a good one. I don't know. There's so many. I'll just talk about what I'm working on right now. I'm currently working on a piece called I haven't even named it yet. But this is gonna sound like the craziest thing. But there is a bug that I feel like God made for me, and that sounds so crazy. But it's called a jewel-flowered praying mantis. And when you look it up, it literally looks like Happy Soul by Pink. I kid you not. The mantis it has pink wings and a yellow smiley face on the wings. And it's not AI, it's an actual bug. And when I looked up what mantis means, it literally means prophet. And painting, the Lord told me that painting is like my prophetic gift. And that he referenced in Exodus when he gave Moses a staff, and Moses was basically like, what am I supposed to do with it? And God was just like, pick it up. And he basically revealed to me, like, he gave me the pen, he gave me the paintbrush. And so the way that he's going to minister to people through me is through my art and through the things that I write. And so this painting that I'm making is a reminder of what God told me, because I can often get through this denial state and or just forget and not pick up the paintbrush, not pick up the pen, and forget how important it is to release the things that the Lord is showing me, to document the things that is occurring in my life. Because my favorite thing, again, like I said about, when I was using art when I first started was that being able to look back at it and realize what I've been through and the fact that I may not be in that space anymore, but people still being able to look at it and receive something from it, that's important. And so I would say that it's not one exact moment, but just the practice of art as like this sacred conversation between me and God. That's just my favorite thing about being an artist. So.
And what about you?
You said, rephrase the question one more time for me.
I said, is there ever a moment that really stands out to you that makes you realize that how important it is to have self-expression? Is there a particular...
I mean, yeah, there's plenty of moments, but I feel like the most memorable one for me was I did an album like 4 or 5 years ago called Inner Child, and it was literally about that. It was about my inner child. And if you don't know what the inner child is, that's just the aspects of you as a child that you neglected as you came into adulthood. And I think I was just in a period of time in my life where I was realizing like, okay, it's a lot of stuff about my childhood, a lot of trauma and things that I didn't address that's still affecting me now. But I came to the realization I have the opportunity to address it and heal from it. And I think the first part of healing from it is acknowledging it. You can't, heal anything that you haven't acknowledged. And in essence, that's essentially your shadow, is the aspects of yourself that you don't acknowledge. So, it was a lot of stuff from, my dad not being in my life to, having a teen mom, a grandma passing, and just a lot of stuff that was going on that in that album I put in there, and it helped me, regardless of if anybody else never listened to it. My wife does. She did. She liked it, which is cool. But I've never really heard anything from anybody else about it. But it's good for me because I can always go back to that, and I look back and I reflect on how I grew from that. And that's the thing about art. I think, sometimes you can put pressure on like, well, is people going to listen to this? Will people like it? It's not always for other people. You feel me? If people like it, cool. But if not, use it as a tool that I believe God created it to be, which is to be able to heal and share your testimony. And sometimes you need that for yourself, so you can look back and remember where you were and how far you came. So definitely that album, when I wrote that helped a lot.
Well, Black Power loves to highlight local talent, so you can always submit any of your music to submitmusic at blackpower.org, right? So yes, so submit music at blackpower96.org, and they'll play it on the radio.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're always looking for local talent. That's a part of our initiative, right? To make sure that we hear our people, that our people are highlighted. So please share.
I definitely will.
Y'all, this is just the enemy don't want me to be great today, but we sure do. So again, tell us a little bit about, give us the information for the Soul Festival and run down what's going to be happening during those days.
So Happy Soul Revival will be April 17th through April 19th. April 17th is going to be our sickle cell info session, so you'll learn more about sickle cell, and you'll hear from individuals who have sickle cell themselves, their experiences, and how they deal with it. April 18th will be our revival brunch at the James Museum. That is from 11 to 3 p.m. and we will have live performances by local artists. We'll have live paintings going on, and those paintings will be auctioned off to help us raise funds for sickle cell. We'll hear from more local artists on a panel, and we'll have a creative spread of brunch items by Yes Chef Village. And then on April 19th, we'll be on the Deuces on 22nd Street South, and we will have vendors, we'll have hands-on arts activities so you can really get into the art wellness yourself. We'll have performances by the Arts Conservatory for Teens, and we'll have some more performances by local artists. And we'll even have art therapy and music therapy inside of the Deuces Hugs. So it is a full weekend full of community, full of culture, full of wellness, full of art. And also don't forget, if you come to the brunch, come in your cultural attire, okay? Come best dressed in your cultural attire. This is a community event, but we really want to see you repping your culture, because a lot of cultures, culture is creative. So, yes.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being on the show today. Thank you for sharing your story, your relationship, and your creative expression, your creative perspective. And if you guys want more information, it'll be under the live on Facebook. I'm also going to post it to my Instagram, the flyer to my Instagram. And you can go to happysoulrevival.org. That's happysoulrevival.org. You can also go to www.thesimonedurantshow.com. Go to the contact section and say, hey, like, I want more information about that Soul Festival, or, you know, the people that you were talking about today, and I can reach out to you with that information as well. As I exit out today, y'all stay played up, stay healthy, stay whole, get some vitamin C in your system, and remember that your journey is yours uniquely, and beauty starts from within. I'll see you guys next week. St. Pete.